Well, hello. It's midnight here in London, 7 a.m. in Singapore, also, of course, midnight in the British city of Manchester, where police are responding to what they say is a serious incident at a concert venue. In the last few minutes, they've reported that there are a number of fatalities. Now, this happened at the Manchester Arena at the end of a performance by the American singer Ariana Grande. There were reports of loud bangs. Police say they are investigating. They may have been explosions. It's not entirely clear what those bangs were from. Eyewitnesses had earlier said there were a number of casualties. The building is above a railway station. Train services have been suspended. So let's just recap what we know, because there are so many things at this stage which are unclear. However, in the last few minutes, police have confirmed, Manchester police have confirmed that there are a number of fatalities. We are not sure how those people were killed, and we do not at this stage know what those bangs were caused by that people have been reporting. Now, witnesses have said they felt something that felt like a massive explosion. Everybody ran out of the concert venue, but there's been no actual confirmed source as to what those explosions were. Lots of people, 21,000 people were in the Ariana Grande concert. It had just finished, and then it was at that point that these bangs were heard and people ran very fast out of Manchester Arena. Now, I'm joined by our correspondent, Andy Moore. Andy, I mean, what is clear about what's happened at this stage?
Well, the latest update from the police is that there have been a number of fatalities caused by an explosion. That's the information we have from the police. The BBC has just heard from an eyewitness who was there, who's given a very graphic account of what he saw. This is a man called Andy Holy. He was waiting to collect his wife and daughter at the end of the concert, and he was waiting outside the venue, and he said there was a terrific explosion which blew him through the doors, he said. And he said afterwards, in the immediate aftermath, he saw 20 or 30 people injured. Some of them, he believed, were dead. He said the whole building shook. He said there was carnage everywhere. He said many of those who were injured were young people, obviously going to a concert like this. A lot of them would have been very young. And he said the source of the explosion, as far as he could gather, was on the perimeter of the arena, not in the auditorium, but he said it was near the box office. As I said, he was waiting outside the arena, or just inside the arena, when he was hit by the explosion. So that seems to locate the scene of the explosion somewhere perhaps on the outskirts of the arena, the perimeter, rather than actually in the auditorium. But he also talked about a huge response by the emergency services. So we know there was an explosion. Whether it was some terrible accident, whether it was a bomb, whether it was criminal in intent, we just don't know at the moment.
And we also very early on heard reports of big problems caused at the Manchester Victoria station very nearby. This is whatever was happening inside was obviously having an impact. That's
right. The station is nearby. We heard earlier on that British Transport Police, a separate police force, they were also involved. We heard reports that some lines were blocked on that station. Whether that was a consequence of the explosion, we don't know, and that there would have been a lot of delays. So certainly whatever happened at the arena was affecting the train station very nearby.
And I mean, it's all such an early stage in what we know about the events at Manchester Arena. I mean, it's not clear what the casualties have been caused by.
No, I mean, initially we thought that some of the casualties might have been caused by people fighting in the hysteria and panic to get out of the arena, and that may still be the case. But we've now had this updated information that obviously some of the injuries were caused by the explosion, and very serious injuries caused by the explosion. So the arena has been cleared now, as far as we're aware, but the emergency services are still there in force, dealing with the incident. We can see some of the pictures from inside the arena. You can see, obviously, there's a lot of fear and panic. You can hear screams as people are trying to get out. Some people talked about one explosion, others talked about more than one explosion. Some people were convinced the explosion was inside the arena. Then there were people living in an apartment block nearby who said they heard the explosion, so that suggests it may have been on the outside of the building. But a lot of different reports. Some reports initially thought it might be a balloon going off or a speaker, but the latest information we're getting suggests it's much more serious than that.
And you mentioned, I mean, thousands of young people in there. This must be just the most appalling and worrying time for their parents and those who know them.
That's right. The arena holds 21,000 people. We don't know how many people were there tonight. It may have been approaching that number. And as you say, there are thousands of people. Like the gentleman I spoke about, Andy Holy, he said when he was caught up in the explosion, he looked around immediately at those who were caught up in it to see if his wife and daughter were among them. They weren't. They were actually safe. But he obviously had great trouble contacting his loved ones. And I'm sure there would have been a lot of people in similar circumstances, probably people still trying to reach their loved ones in the circumstances, in the chaos and the confusion there at the moment. Yeah, and that chaos and confusion reflected on social media at the moment. So many tweets from people inside and out talking about it and asking what's happened. Does it appear how easy, I mean, is it possible to tell from the pictures how easy it was for those thousands of people to leave the venue? If it was an orderly evacuation, it should have happened fairly quickly, but I think clearly it was a disorderly evacuation. We've heard from some eyewitnesses that there were fights and scuffles as people tried to get out of the building in a great hurry. So it wasn't an orderly evacuation. It seems that the arena was cleared fairly quickly because people were fearful for their lives and wanted to get out as soon as they could. We're just looking at, this is one of the pieces of footage that have been shared many, many times on Twitter. Andy, just for anyone who's joining us in the last few minutes, just coming to terms with what's happened, where are we with what we know officially from police sources? Well, just an update on what happened. This incident happened at the Manchester Arena about 10:45 local time, just as the concert by the American singer Ariana Grande was coming to an end. There was a loud explosion, and according to Greater Manchester Police, there have been a number of fatalities. They're not saying the number of fatalities, and they're not saying the cause of the explosion. We've heard from one eyewitness that the explosion was actually at a box office on the perimeter of the arena. That's why perhaps in the shots inside the arena you can't see a source of explosion there. You can't see bodies lying around inside the arena, as an eyewitness reports, in the doors leading out from the arena. That eyewitness talked about carnage everywhere. So the emergency service is still dealing with the casualties. We've had no update on the number of casualties, but according to eyewitnesses, in addition to the fatalities, there were a lot of people who were seriously injured. Andy, thank you. Stay with us. We can talk to Karen Ford, who's in Manchester. Karen, first of all, thank you for joining us. Tell us, you were at the concert with your family.
I was. My daughter and I attended this evening. My husband drove us. They were outside, but we were just leaving the concert. Ariana Grande had left. The lights had come up. Everybody was just getting out of the seats and walking towards the stairs when all of a sudden this huge sound, which sounded like an explosion, went off.
And this was just after the end of the concert. What was people's reaction?
Everyone just stopped and turned round, and then somebody shouted, "It's a bomb, run," and everyone just started running. Everybody was trying to push people up the stairs. There was a lady in a wheelchair trying to get away. She was absolutely hysterical, bless her. People were just pushing past her. So I held them back while she actually got out of the stairwell, and the person who was with her took them to safety. But the problem was a lot of children were there without parents. There was no one to calm them down, so everybody was just screaming and crying and pushing. But there wasn't any smoke, there wasn't a flash. It literally was just the huge sound, just this huge bang.
And as far as you could tell, this was just a single bang, was it?
Yes, there was only one.
Because there have been other reports of maybe a couple of what sounded like explosions.
Yes, my husband heard a second one outside, because they were outside waiting for us. But as we came out of the stairwell, there wasn't a steward to be seen on the side that we were exiting. Everyone had just gone, so it was just chaos. Nobody was organising anybody to do anything. There were shoes on the floor where people had ran and the shoes had fallen off. So it was absolutely awful.
And Karen, I mean, when you heard that noise, was there any doubt in your mind about what it might have been?
I must say, I didn't think it was a bomb at first, because there was nothing else to go with it. It was just a huge sound in the left-hand corner. And it obviously, as we came out and came over the tannoy for people to move away from the building, all the emergency services were coming down the street. You could hear the sirens. And then obviously, as we've got in the car to leave, that we've just heard the awful news that people have actually died there tonight.
And Karen, you mentioned that your husband heard what sounded like a blast outside as well as what you heard inside the venue.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
You think that this could have been a double explosion if that's what has happened?
It could have been, yes. Yes, but we only heard the one. It was very, very loud.
And you talked about the fact that there was nobody there, seemingly, to help people make their way in a calm fashion out of the venue. It was absolute chaos, was it?
Just chaos. I was trying to tell people to calm down. I was saying to the children, it's a balloon that's gone off, it's not a bomb, just to try and reassure people and keep people calm, because we were being crushed as we were exiting, as we were going up the stairs and then out through the doors. So I wouldn't be surprised if people have been injured through actually being crushed this evening.
Yeah, Karen, I was going to ask you, I mean, did it seem to you that people are actually getting injured in the process of trying to leave the venue?
Yes, yes. Yeah, there was shoes. People, as they were running, they'd left the shoes. There was the odd shoe just lying around where people had just run and left them. And there's lots of stairs going up, going down. So no, it was awful.
Karen, where are you now? What are you doing?
We've just got back home. We live in Sheffield.
And I mean, were people congregating outside the venue, or were they just trying to get as far away as possible, as quickly as possible?
Some people were trying to get away, but outside, because there was children who were going on their own, and not little children, teenagers. Their parents were outside waiting for them. So there were kids on phones crying, trying to find the parents. There were parents crying on their phones. So everybody was trying to find each other. And
did it seem that people were completely unaware of what was happening and what was really going on? I mean, or did it seem like a real atmosphere of confusion and panic?
It was, yes, yeah. A few people had shouted that it was a bomb, and I think as the emergency services were coming down the street, then people thought that there was obviously something seriously wrong.
Did the members of the emergency services give any idea of what might have happened when people were asking them?
Well, no, they were just asking people to move away from the building as quickly as possible, which we did. As soon as I met with my husband, we just carried on walking and just got as far away as possible, as quickly as possible.
And how are you all now you're back home?
Not too bad. I think reality has just sunk in that we've been to a pop concert, which should be a very family affair, and that people have died there tonight.
Karen, thank you very much. Karen Ford, who was at that Ariana Grande concert with her family. Let's talk to Tom Mullen from BBC Manchester. Tom, just tell us where you are and what's happening where you are.
Yeah, I'm about 10 minutes away from the arena. I've been here speaking to people who are obviously incredibly upset and disturbed, shaken. People just trying to make sense, really, of what's happened. People are picking up bits of information from places. They're looking on their phones. I've seen many people in tears. I was speaking to one mother, obviously had 2 children with her. She said she just wanted to get them home. She said they've seen people covered in blood. People talk of seeing phones strewn around the place. People just leaving their coats, heading for the doors and just trying to get as far away from the place as possible, really. People have spoken about things that have been in their minds, like such as the Bataclan attack of last year. People feeling very, very panicky, and obviously the police response has been absolutely huge. I mean, there was a point when I was walking up here, and the whole streets of Manchester were just alive with flashing blue lights, helicopters. It's obviously been an incredibly fast and speedy response. And I think the priority seems to be now just reassuring people and keeping people away from the area.
Tom, stay with us if you will. Andy Moore's with me. Andy, you've got an update.
A quick update from British Transport Police. They say they're at the arena following reports of an explosion within the foyer area of the stadium at 10:30 this evening, and that confirms that eyewitness account we heard about an explosion near a ticket office. So Transport Police locating the explosion in the foyer area of the stadium. British Transport Police say emergency services are at the scene and we are working to establish more information regarding the explosion and will provide further updates. So no cause of the explosion, but they're giving a more precise location for it.
Andy, thank you. Tom, if you're still with us, and just put it into context, this location of the Manchester Arena, how close it is to the city centre, and it sort of links with the rest of Manchester. It's right by Manchester Victoria Station, which was affected as well.
Yes, that's correct. It's just to the north of the city. It's quite close to the city's northern quarter. So lots of bars, lots of restaurants. Lots of people milling around. Obviously, it's quite early in the week, so it's a quieter night than would have been the case at the weekend. But yes, you're right. It's right next to Victoria Station, which I understand has been temporarily closed. And yeah, extremely central part of the city.
This is a huge venue. I mean, we think something like 21,000 people were at this Ariana Grande concert.
Yes, I think that's probably about right, and I'm seeing lots and lots of very young people. One thing that's been a surprise is the number of children who are obviously here. Well, very young people who are here with what seems to be their parents or older guardians. So it seems to have been a very family-orientated night out tonight.
And Tom, I mean, is there any indication from the emergency services that are there outside the venue in the city centre? Any more detail on what we believe happened?
I'm afraid not really. I mean, it's quite common in situations like this when we're here on the ground and speaking to the police officers that they won't tend to give very much away, and we're referred to make calls to their press office and to watch the updates that they're releasing. And I suppose with an incident like this, their first priority will be, looking after people and dealing with the injured and the people who've died.
Tom, thank you. Tom Mullen there, BBC Manchester. Andy, just if anybody is just joining us, a recap of what we know at this stage has happened and what we know for sure.
Yes, so there were reports of an explosion at 10:45 local time this evening in the Manchester Arena. The singer Ariana Grande had just finished her concert. A lot of young people there, a lot of children there at the concert. An indoor arena with a capacity of up to 21,000 people. So reports of an explosion. We now know, according to British Transport Police, that explosion was in the foyer area of the arena. So not in the main auditorium, but on the perimeter of the arena. We've had an update from the police, the Greater Manchester Police. It's very brief, but I think it's worth repeating what they say. And they say there has been an explosion, there have been a number of fatalities, and they talk about a casualty bureau being opened up as soon as possible. So that suggests they're dealing with a number of fatalities and a number of injured. We heard from one eyewitness who said he was thrown off his feet, thrown through the doors of the venue by the force of the explosion. He saw 20 to 30 people injured. Many of them, he believed, were dead. Many of them were very young. The cause of the explosion, we don't know. Some people at the time certainly thought it was a bomb. We've had nothing from official sources, so we don't know at the moment whether there was criminal intent behind it or whether it was a terrible accident of some sort.
And the way the information has come out, just an hour or so ago, we were wondering if perhaps all this panic could have been caused by something as simple as a balloon, part of the big display at such a big concert.
Yes, I mean, at the time, as you say, people were responding on social media. There were balloons inside the venue. Some people were speculating that it was panic, hysteria caused by balloons going off. Other people thought it might have been some sort of speaker. But I think we can see the pictures inside the auditorium, and what appears to be clear is that even though there's panic and confusion and screaming inside the auditorium, certainly none of the pictures that I've seen so far have shown any casualties actually inside the auditorium. And it now seems that is because the explosion was at the ticket office outside the stadium, where people may have been passing by on their way out. And also, of course, other people, like one of those eyewitnesses we heard of, they were waiting to meet and pick up their loved ones. So there would have been obviously people waiting outside the arena at the same time. That might explain why the casualty figures are so high, apparently, for an explosion that was on the outside of the main auditorium.
And the witness we were just speaking to, the person who had taken her children to the concert, saying that when they were running out, everybody was running at the same time. There was absolutely no sign of any kind of steward to help people out in an orderly fashion. No,
that's right. Certainly some of the injuries, it appears, were caused as people left the arena very rapidly. We heard about some people having cut eyes. We heard about pushing and shoving. We heard about even a fight on the way out. So it seems that it was a panicked exit from the arena. It wasn't an orderly one. In these videos, I haven't seen any stewards in shot. It may be that they are there, they're trying to organise the evacuation of the arena, but people certainly say it was very chaotic, very confusing, and nobody seemed to be in charge of the operation.
Let's hear from one other eyewitness, because my colleague Clive Myrie has been speaking to Andrew Holy. He witnessed the immediate aftermath of what seemed to be an explosion.
Let's talk to Andy Holy, I think who's on the line. Andy, hello to you. I think you were waiting for a couple of family members who were actually at the concert?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't go to the concert, my wife and daughter did, so I was waiting up at the first set of white doors. As I was waiting, an explosion went off and it threw me through the first set of doors, about 30 foot to the next set of doors. When I got up and looked round, there was about 30 people scattered everywhere. Some of them looked dead, might have been unconscious, but there was a lot of fatalities. So my first thing was to run in the stadium, try and find my wife and daughter. When I couldn't find them, I went back out, and with the police and the fire and ambulance, whoever was there, I looked at some of the bodies trying to find my family. But luckily, they weren't there. Managed to find them outside the arena and got them back to the hotel we're in. But I phoned up because so many reports are coming in that it was like a balloon and things not happening as it was. It was definitely an explosion, and there's definitely a lot of fatalities.
Right. I mean, we're actually looking at the police statement from Greater Manchester Police confirming a lot of what people have been saying. A number of fatalities have occurred as a result of this. A number of other people have been injured as well, and people are being told to avoid the area. This explosion, a lot of force then, it actually blew you off your feet.
Well, I'd been talking to one of the arena girls in a yellow coat while I was waiting for my family to come out. And me and her got through the doors towards the wall where they go in. And she got up, she was all right, and then I got up, looked around, and then it was some force. I mean, my ears are still ringing now, so I might be talking a bit loud. But it was, the whole building shook.
No doubt in your mind that this will, what, some sort of detonation, some kind of device?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely an explosion.
Right. And you say that when you came to after being blown off your feet, you saw bodies around you? You saw people lying injured around you?
Yeah, there was I'd say a good 20 to 30. When I couldn't find my family in the stadium, I came back out to where it happened. And I stayed there for about 20 minutes while I was looking for my wife and daughter. Because I couldn't get hold of them on the phone, I was helping the emergency services to, like, with, you know, bits and bobs of bandages and first aid and that. And then in the end, my mum got hold of me and said he was waiting down the road for me, so I left the area. But it's shocking what happened. Like, it's just carnage everywhere.
Yeah, 20 to 30 people, you think, were very seriously injured, clearly.
Yeah, there was a good 20 to 30, and I'm talking some of them were young kids. Some of them were already disabled people. I mean, whoever's done it has done it on a kids' concert, because most of the people there would have been kids.
Right. And no question as well, the explosion was inside the arena. Some suggestions from eyewitnesses who heard the explosion, who were outside, that it may have been on the outside, but no question in your mind it was inside. No,
it's not inside. It's on near the box office as you go near the white doors to take it into the arena. It was there. Right,
so it's on the way into the arena, into the main part of the arena, okay, but clearly loud enough for people inside the arena to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it shook the building. And the trouble is, in there, the ambulances and that can't get near because it's staircases all the way down.
Right.
So people aren't getting the treatment they need because they can't get some.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of screening might there have been, Andy, for people actually going into the arena? Was there any screening? Is there screening?
Well, I don't know, because I walked my family to the entrance about 5:30. Mm-hmm. They got there early, and then I come back to the hotel, and then my wife's saying it was just a quick look in your bag, that was it.
Right. OK, well, I mean, and your family are safe?
Yeah, they're both OK. They just shook a bit, and obviously they're saying they're never going to go to another concert in their lives, like. Sure.
I mean, so where are you now, Andy?
We're back in the hotel round the corner.
Right. OK, so had you gone up especially for this?
Yeah, we got the tickets as one of the Christmas boxes. You know, it was a special thing, like. But I don't think she wants something like this again.
No.
I just hope they release names of people so they can at least let family, because there's hundreds stood outside panicking, not knowing what's going on. I'm
sure. I mean, that arena holds thousands of people, and there must be a lot of worried families now about their loved ones if they knew that they were inside that area or near the area at the time of this explosion. Andy, thanks very much indeed for joining us, and thanks for your recollections on what happened this evening.
That is Clive Myrie, my colleague, speaking to an eyewitness, someone who was at that venue, Andy Holy. Let's just bring you up to date with what we are learning in the last hour or so, because Greater Manchester Police say that a number of people have been killed and others injured in an explosion at the Manchester Arena. Witnesses have reported hearing a loud bang at the venue. The American pop star Ariana Grande was performing there. Her agent has reported that she is OK. My colleague Andy Moore is with me. Andy, I mean, it's an absolutely horrific night for anyone who went there.
Yes, and just to update you with something from the North West Ambulance Service Trust, they're just saying on Twitter in the last few minutes, due to the incident in Manchester, please only call us for life-threatening emergencies at this time. Thank you. So that's the first information from the ambulance service, and that gives you the indication of the amount of casualties they're dealing with at the arena, that they don't wish to deal with any other casualties unless they're absolute emergencies. I think it's perhaps worth reporting on what the Greater Manchester Police are saying, and it's a very brief statement, but they talk about a number of fatalities, a number of casualties caused by an explosion. They also talk about a casualty bureau being set up at a later stage. It's also interesting that that report talks about an explosion. Some of the eyewitnesses have talked about 2 explosions, but according to the police in their official statement, it's a single explosion. And we heard from the British Transport Police talking about an explosion in the foyer area, which confirms what we heard from that eyewitness, Andy Holy, talking about an explosion in the ticket office on the perimeter of the arena, not in the main auditorium.
And the pictures that we can see now